Today I want to do I'm going to do some pink ink. I bought this one quite recently. I've not had any of the flowers from all the collections, as none of the flowers are the ones I've got. This is the lilac, a very big favourite of my mum's. I'm thinking that Mother's Day is coming up very soon. I thought we'd give this one a go. So that's the stamp I'm using. This is Pink Ink Designs Luscious Lilac. That's the stamp I will use. And I want to make a background that's really as pale as I can, really. I'm going to try and keep it faint as I can. I'm going to use an A5 card. That's my card blank. I've already cut a piece of this green. I thought I'd make a nice background. That's from the Dovecraft rainbow card packs, like mirrored, but it's got like the oil effect going through it with the lines. And I've chosen the green because I think that would go well with the lilac. That's going to be my matte, and that's 14 by 20 centimeters. And then this is a 5 by 7 die cut out of watercolor card, 300 GSM watercolor card. Let's just put that to one side so we know where we're at. And I've die cut that from the 5 by 7 die by Sue Wilson from this set called essential sized rectangles, and in there we have A5, 5 by 7, A6 and A7 sizes. That's UK sizes. As you can see, they are like proper true rectangles, whereas a lot of the Sue Wilson dies that are in these sets, they're more of a square than a rectangle. So that's what I've used to cut that out anyway, just to let you know. And what I'm thinking is, once I've got my background done and I've stamped on my lilacs and I've painted those, I think what I may do is attach that to the green background and run the whole thing through an embossing folder, just to give it a bit more texture, or maybe even just the corners. I don't know, we'll see where it goes. Through the embossing folder, just to give it a little bit more depth, and then possibly even once it's been embossed, go over with one of these opal polishes. This one has got a green tint to it, green pearl opal polish, just to highlight some of that embossing in places. So we'll give it a go, we'll see where it takes us. That's my card blank all ready to go. Let's put that up there. Right, as far as inks are concerned, for colouring in my design once I've stamped it, I've got Forest Green Intense Pigment Stain. This is by Cosmic Shimmer. Deep Plum and Citrus Lime. These intense pigment stains are brilliant because you need the tiniest spot and they'll go such a long way. They are very intense in colour and you can water them down as much as you like. So go as light as you like or as dark as you like with those. So that's the inks I'll use for colouring in. For my main image on my paper, I'm going to spritz this back and front with water. Here's my water spritzer. Excuse me. And I'm going to use some of these Pixie Burst pixie powders. Excuse me. 2 pixie powders, Aubergine Dream, which I think might come out quite dark, so I am going to be patting this down to take some of the colour back off, but see where it goes. Sun Yellow, and this one's a Pixie Burst Firefly Glow, which I believe is a kind of a dark greenish colour when it comes out. But let's make a bit of a background anyway and see where it goes. And for the stamp itself, I'm planning on sort of coming across the page. That's the image. And there's the stamp. As you know, pink ink are notorious for being super large. You certainly get your money's worth of pink ink. Yeah, lovely large stamps. And I'm thinking of going across the corner that way. Doesn't matter if any of it goes off the page, it really doesn't matter at all. So what I'm thinking with the colour bursts is to have them going more across corner to corner. So let's see if I can achieve that. Okay, let's get cracking. Right, so let's just, right, I've got a tray with a cloth in it ready, with a bit of used paper in it already. I'm going to try and go, first of all I'm just going to spray the back, because if you don't, your paper just all curls up. So spray the back, and I just want to try and get a light spraying across there. See, it's more wet across that bit, that's where I want most of the action to be. So let's put that over there for now. I've got my cat in the background here watching me. No doubt she'll come climbing all over my work in a minute. Show her face just to say hello, won't you? Right, that's a nice kind of limey colour. That's a pretty colour, I like that. That's going to be a nice in my background. That's going to be the main one that I want to use, I think. And then I was thinking of some of this, like the aubergine, to give it a bit of a pinky tint, you know, because it's all going to match the colours in. When I can get it to come out. And what I'll do is I'll give this another spritz in a bit to try and get those colours to move a bit more. I mean, normally when I do this, I'd prefer to let it dry naturally. And, oops. Yeah, I didn't really want that to happen. Prefer it to dry naturally, so that it can move around and the ink you've got time to move around, but I'm gonna have to stop it in its track. And so that was awkward to get on, wasn't it? Right, didn't really want that amount, just there. I'm going to give that another spritz. Let's get some of this other paint moving. So I'm quite liking that. I think I'm a bit more pink, a bit more of this aubergine. Be careful not to make it muddy. That'll do. Right, so what I'm going to do now is, I've got the colours that I want there, but I'm going to stop them in the tracks by blotting it all off, especially all that big amount of water there. I'm going to keep it quite pale. And the thing I love about these pixie powders is they get that lovely sparkle sheen off them as well. That's if I haven't picked it all up. So my main colours across that corner anyway, which is what I was aiming for. And that looks okay. That's about dried out on the back. That's all good. So can you see how it, yeah, I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but it's got that lovely sheen to it. And that's it, you can just about see that. Right, so let's just plonk that out the way. Hello, kitty cat. Yes. Let's just dry that bit up there as well. Didn't want to get it anywhere else. I didn't realise I'd gone over the top of my little tray. I tend now, whatever I'm using, if it involves spraying, I'll use the lid of that product to spray into, rather than getting it all over my desk like I usually do. Right, so that's that. I am going to have to dry it off a little bit because I can't stamp on top of damp. I was originally today going to show you how I created a stained glass look card using acetate, but it's such a long process. Weren't really quite prepared for it today. Feeling a little bit rough today, so I thought I'd do one that's going to be quite quick, hopefully. And we'll pick up on the stained glass one. Perhaps the next one I do will be a stained glass one. So I'm trying and dry it out enough so that it doesn't bow my paper too much. Right, that's fine, that's lovely, I like that, and I'm sure my inks will paint over that enough to hopefully not turn everything green. Right, so my stamp, which is going to go across there. Yeah, I think that's going to look nice actually. And a great thing with these stamps as well, with the pink ink, you always get all these extra little bits that you can add on and, you know, make backgrounds with, or borders, or all kinds. I do love the pink ink stamp. Now I'm thinking maybe I should use my platform, because being a large stamp it may miss an area or two. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave an area up there so I can put perhaps a Mother's Day message on it or whatever. That's, you know, that will come later. I don't usually put anything on until I'm going to use the card, because it can always be used for other things as well, birthdays and anniversaries or whatever. I need to get rid of that broken bit of magnets. Not very good, it's sharp. Right, so let's have a look. Let's just push that across there a bit. For stamping with, my usual VersaFine Clair Nocturne. I think these are the best inks for stamping with if you're painting with watercolour and inks and things. I think that's got plenty on it. Give it a good dab in until we've get what we want. If we get a nice outline out of that. Let it sit a while, give it time to soak in. That should have it. There, lovely. Give that a wipe. I know a lot of you don't, but I like to clean my stamps straight away. It's just a wet cloth, it's just a wet microfiber cloth. Damp, slightly more than damp. And I always keep that at my side for cleaning off any mess. Okay, that can go back in there. Take that off there. That can go away. Right, so let's have a go at painting these then. So I'm going to start off with, right, I've got my, that's just a little pot of that's gold mica mixed with water and gum arabic, whatever you call it. It just helps it to stick a bit better. I mean, it will. Using it, I usually use it for splashing for backgrounds. I might use it there. I don't think I'm going to need it actually, because you can see the shimmer. In fact, yeah, definitely, you can see the shimmer coming through from those pixie powders. So I don't think I'm really going to need this gold, but I might put the extra splatter on here and there. Right, for inks, like I say again, it's those Inktense stains. So first of all, I'll put them. I've got a dark green, I've got a plum, and I've got the lime green. So I'm going to just put a bit of the lime in there. I may need a bit more because there's quite a lot of areas to cover. I'm going to put the dark green in that one, the forest green in that one, a bit more lime actually, and the deep plum, which I need to do, well that's tight, quite faintly to start with. I need that to be very light to start with. As you can see, that is very dark. Probably not really the kind of purple I wanted, but I'm going to go with it anyway. Right, and let's see what I can achieve, starting with the lime green. I've got my glass of water here. I'm going to mix the lime green into this one. I'm just going to get a spot and add it till I've got the intensity that I want. And I think that might do it. Let's have a look. And I'm just going to go over these leaves. Might even use the full intensity actually. I will do. Yeah, I think I'll use the full intense on that. Okay. Because it is only a lime green anyway, it's not like it's a dark green that needs really diluting down. So being the lime colour that I wanted, that's just ideal. It's not as dark as I thought that one would be. So that's just right for what I need. I'm just going to go over all of these leaves. Alright, so I've got a finer brush there. Use this finer brush for these stems and tiny leaves. I'm not bothered if I go outside the lines. Sometimes you get that that smudgy looking. You know, I shall probably do some shadowing outside the lines anyway. I usually do. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. But just wanted to put in some colour from these branches. I think that's it. I think I've got everywhere. That one there. Okay. Now let that get that a quick dry. Because I'm going to go over with dark and I don't want it to in fact I think in some parts of that I could blend out some of that colour. In fact, let's put the paper up so I can have a look, see what I'm colouring. Sometimes it's good to have that guide. I want it to be a lot lighter up the top here and as it comes down. So I'm going to take out some of that just by using water and going over it. It will take out some of that excess green, that excess colour. I find it easier to do it this way, take the colour out than putting it in, to be honest, but a lot of people will differ from that, but it's each to their own. We all have our own technique. because I know that I want that darker green in there as well, it's easier to just to put it in and then take out what little bit you need to make it lighter. See, it automatically gives it, it's already given it depth just by taking out some of that colour. See what I mean? Just lift that colour back out. Okay, and now I can go in with my darker shade. It's not going to need a lot, but right, again, let's put a bit of water down in there. So tiniest spot it gets in there. Right, okay. So I've mixed my darker shade. And now I want to see where you got a curl on the leaf here. I want the shade to be behind that. And then coming up into the leaf itself. And then I'm going to go even in more intense right there. Yes, it is going to spread in there, but that's what I want it to do. Okay. Actually, while I'm at it, I need to take out that green there. Gone a bit too far over the line there. So I'm just going to water that out. That's it. And now I'm going to use water to blend that green in with the rest of the leaf. Leaving that little bit dark there. Again, back to that little tiny intense spot there. Just want that to be a bit more intense there. Right, I'll stop it spreading. There you go. And I'll do the same with some of these here, where the shading will be here. So add that shade in, and water to blend it in, and the much more intense green around there, around that bit, there. Like that. Perhaps a bit too wet that. In that corner. Right, this one, shadows are there, so I'm going to go with that. Again, all the time I lay the colour down and I get a clean brush, just a clean wet brush, and I just blend that colour's edge just to guide it all in there, and then right at the very part where it would be shade, where it's shaded more, I'll go a little bit darker. So that's that. And this leaf again, I've got another curled leaf there, so it'll be darker there. Let's just put that extra colour in just there. Wet my brush, lighten it off, blend it in. And then with the intense, just dab a bit there. So you see I'm getting my different shades of greens all in there. I don't like that, the edges on that, that's a bit too. I always try and, I don't like to see a watermark. I always try and blend that out. Right, again we've got a bit of darkness coming through this leaf. Also on that side. And then the intense where the flower joins, where the flower shadows it. And the same for this one as well. Let's take out some of that edge. So it's just building your colour until you get it where you want it to be. That bit there, that's a bit dark, so that needs coming out a bit. That's it. Lovely. Needs to be lighter, so let's get that there. Anywhere where you feel you've got a bit too dark, you can just put water and bleed it back out, which I have in a couple of places. So I'm just bleeding that back out. Or bleaching it back out if you'd like to call it bleaching. Some cases I will actually use bleach. Doing it this way helps to stop you getting them watermark them lines, water lines. Stops it spreading. Okay. And there's just a couple of little leaves at the top now. Might be darker at the far end, I think. And a bit down there. So I think I'm happy with those colours in there. Just need to bleed that out a little bit more. Bring them, soften those lines a little bit. There you go. Right, now for my purple. What I'm going to do with this purple is I'm going to water that down as much as I possibly can. Got green in my brush now. Always keep 2 lots of water. Keep one clean. So mixing my water, mixing my brushes, mixing my paints even. Oh, see what I mean by that? Intense that is. And with this, I'm just going to roughly go over all over these flower bits. Try and keep some shape there. Not quite the colour I had in mind, to be honest, but very purpley at all, is it really? Little clusters. Certainly not very lilac. Saying that, you do get them ones, don't you, that are like, there's the ones with the real purple, the real pale lilac, and you get them ones that are really quite a deep intense purple, don't you? So mine's obviously the darker variety. Okay, I think what I'm going to do with this as well, and some of the bits in between, all these little gaps in between, I'm going to put some blue just to intensify the everything that's, you know, in the background, if you like, of the actual flower, in the shadows of the flower. Okay, right, so where's my blue violet? Is that it? Blue violet. Right, I'm going to put a bit of that in here. Just a little bit. I'm going to use my tiny brush again. Before I put that in, I'm going to dry those off, otherwise it will be running through all the wetness of everything else. And I'm just going to put some little tiny bits in here and there, just to, that's probably too intense. Just want to, more or less a dry brush, I just want to put some in between some of these little flowers, just to create a shadow behind. See, it just adds a bit of depth between all the flowers. Try and do it so it's not on the actual flower petals. Just creates that depth in between all the little bits. A little bit of shading, so I'd see which is a flower and what's not. And that's looks like a bud. So it just creates that depth rather than it just being flat colour. I may even end up going around the edges of them all with this anyway. And this one's not got an awful lot going on with it, so I'm just going to dot that around like that. And this one as well. So again, try and find the little gaps that are in between all the little flowers and petals, which is odd because it's blooming hard to see what's a flower and what's not. Just to create some shadows around the flowers. What is that clump doing down there? That's a flower. So more or less drop shade in between what is the actual flowers. See? I'm trying to do the same with this, but this is a smaller scale, so be careful to not overdo it. And then now I need a darker purple, more intense purple, plum. Still going to use this to go in the centre of my main flowers, which is these. It's a little bit messy from where I'm sitting, but oops, I nearly went into the wrong one. Now I've got some dark bits and some light bits. So back in with the water. And just smudge it around a bit. Like that. See where you get the different shades now, it all brings out all that to purple. So that lovely dark purpley colour. Yeah, quite pleased with that. And this one I'm just going to dot a few bits here and there because this is still almost in bud. So it's going to look dark anyway. Dab them to secure them. That's it. Right, now do the same in these ones. It's awkward to see, the detail is so fine, and because I've put the pixie powders down first, it's not as clear as it would have been if I'd done it straight on white paper, but needless to say, it's not what I was after. So just smudge all that colour in there as well. Put a bit of water over it all. Damp it off. It creates the centres of those flowers then. So the flowers are dark in the middle and light on the outer petals. Oops, wrong colour. Going into green again. Right, it's a larger main flower. You can see more of the actual flowers on this one, so you know where the bits you want to keep light. Like so. And then some of these berry bits, little bud bits that have not opened yet, they would be quite dark, I think. Nearly one in the green again. I think that's got all the main flower petals. And then again, in with the water. Take out some of that darkness, so that the main flower remains dark in the middle, light on the edges, like that. What do you think? Quite pretty? I think I want to go around the edge of these flowers and the leaves. I want to give some shadow in round. I'm going to go with this blue. Just create a bit of a drop shadow. Bloody cat hairs on my brush. Just a bit of drop shadow. It's nice to have a bit of shadow around anyway. It just makes the rest of everything else pop off your page a bit better. Just gently go all the way around. If you've got stark lines, you can always bleed them out a bit again like I did before. Excuse me. Sound like I'm coughing up a lung half the time. That's that. So I've got that darker shadow around, but I have got harsh lines. So I'm just going to wet my brush and I'm going to fade those lines in. It's quite simple to do. And literally just wet your brush and fade those lines in. Just go over the edges of the lines. A bit too wet there. And you end up with a darker shadow around your main image. Helps it pop off the page without looking deliberate. Just an automatic shadow. That's it. Those lines are good soaking. That just then just blends into your background, the rest of your background, but it leaves a dark enough shadow around your main image to help it pop off the page. This is just my way of watercolouring. I don't know if everybody does it like this, but I'm not everybody, I'm me. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know, but it's my way. Right, hopefully I've got what I want. There. So you get that darker element around it, just helps it to pop off the page a little bit. Right, so now let's move that ink out of the way so I don't get knocking it all over the place. I'm going to, that's quite damp, which is a good thing. What did I do with my embossing folder? Right, I've got an embossing folder called Floral Vines, the Creative Expressions one, very pretty. And I'm going to run that through my machine. It just gives a bit more texture rather than just being a flat background card. Right, so for this I just need my top and bottom plate, put it in at a slight angle. So the roller can grab it easily. Excuse the noise, the Gemini is quite noisy. Oh, I've debossed instead of embossed. Okay. Well, I've debossed instead of embossed. I got my embossing folder the wrong way around. But it matters not. It's still, you still get that extra texture, as you can see from there. Just adds a little bit more interest. Can you see? Can you actually see that on there? Okay, so that's that done. And then I was going to, where did I put it? There it is. Use my opal polish. I'm just gonna, literally, you just get a smear of it on your spongy pad. Hardly anything. Try not to get a thick part. And I just wanted to, just for a bit more shine, not where the plant is, but where the embossing is, go over. I suppose called where the plant is as well, actually, that doesn't really matter. gives it a bit more texture. It's just adding textures. Different levels of texture. I mean, cat hairs, different levels of textures here and there, and it pulls out the foreground of the card. And you see how that's got that lovely shimmer all over it now. I think I might go over the plants as well, over that as well. See what that does. Picks up the texture in the embossing. And that pops back into the lid. Keep that nice and tightly on. And there, you got a lovely texture over it now. I think that's quite pretty. So now, what I want to do is add that to my green background. I don't know if that's a bit too much green actually. Whether I should have added just a small bit like that. Cut the card down. Yeah. There's quite a lot of green there. It does take away from it a bit. What do you think? I'm going to cut this green down a bit and the card. I don't think it needs that amount of green. It's too much. So let's get my paper cutter. Oops, it is it. That is 5 by 7, so I just want to go slightly bigger than 5 by 7. So if I go 5 1/4, and what is it, 5 1/2? So I'll go 5 1/4. By 7, so 7 1/4. Don't need all that excess. And then I'm going to cut my card down as well. That's 6 by 8 1/4. So I'm going to cut my card down off the bottom by 5 1/4, 6 3/4. So if I go to 8. No, 7 3/4. Let's see what that would look like. Yeah, I need to take a bit more off there. Take another 1/4 off my card, so that's going to be 5 3/4. So I've now got my main card is 5 3/4. By 6 3/4 instead of 6 by 8 1/4. I just think it looked wrong with all that excess green on it, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm cutting it down, and that will go on there, and that will go on there, and then there's not too much green to outshine the lilac. And that is today's card. My lovelies, that's all excess, let's get rid of that. And that's today's card. And obviously, at a time when needed, when I decide whether it's going to be a sympathy or a Mother's Day or whatever, I've got a space to put a nice little sentiment or something up there. I hope you enjoyed this little demo. I shall see you again next time. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.